1,000 RBIs in the first half of baseball this year? Or do I want to go Austin Slater?
You want to go Austin Slater?
You're kidding yourself.
Come on, you want to go Austin Slater.
I mean, come on.
Austin Slater, his last 11 games with the Giants, 37 plate appearances, 29 official at-bats. He had 4 hits, Shasky. 4 hits.
Look, the
12
poor guy,
strikeouts.
he hung around too much.
5 walks, 3 RBIs, no home runs, batted a paltry 138, on-base percentage 243. So it was time to say goodbye to Austin Slater. You know what? Good for the Giants. This is good because as you move on, let's talk about it because I don't want to be all doom and gloom about them. This 13-game stretch that we have Flem on, they went 8-5, folks.
I thought it was a fun stretch.
They went 8-5, and they lost the last 2 to Cleveland, but you blew a 3-0 lead yesterday.
I know.
You were in the game Saturday afternoon, and I thought it was a great at-bat with Clase and Matt Chapman. Wow, the theater with that one. Chapman sitting there. Dude, he sat there and took that 2-2 pitch. I have no idea how he did that.
I'm surprised Chapman wasn't mentioned as an all-star. I don't think he's an all-star this year, but in terms of the way he plays every single day, like, I could see why he should get more of a nod for all. I'm not saying he should be, because I don't think his consistency has been there at the plate, but he's been an excellent Giant.
Yeah, no,
I love watching Matt Chapman. He's one of my favorite players on the team.
Chapman's balling. Solaire's getting a bit hot. He's had a good run, but
tearing the cover off the ball.
But you know what? 8-5 during this 13-game stretch against the Cubs, Dodgers, Braves, and Guardians. And you know what? You got to come. Yeah, I know they're under 500 right now. You're 3.5 out of the third wild card spot. But if you could just get to the All-Star break where you play Toronto this week, and Vlad Jr. is hot, we're going to get an up-close and personal look at Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I'm telling you, I wouldn't mind going to get that guy to solidify this lineup, but that's something we can talk about later in the week. But then you get Minnesota going into the All-Star break. My concern is the pitching. You cannot continue to ask outside of Logan Webb to get 12-plus outs from the bullpen every single game. For the love of life, Hicks, Harrison, Birdsong, Robbie Ray, Blake Snell when he comes back tomorrow. Could somebody at least give me 6 innings outside of Logan Webb? For the life of me. Sean Jelly, you're wearing him out. Ryan Walker, you're wearing him out. Tyler Rogers, you're wearing him out, who, by the way, had a case for an all-star bid in the National League. Tyler Rogers has been very, very well. He's pitched very well.
If we were picking pitchers, I understand why people would pick Logan Webb.
Yep.
I think Tyler Rogers has had a better year. And I know that might be controversial. Like, I'm not the biggest Tyler Rogers fan, but I definitely tip the cap when I see a guy be as productive and also throwing in as many games as he has this year.
He hasn't been bad at all.
Now, I want to get to Ramos for just a second. As we talk about Austin Slater, if there's one thing that the Austin Slater prototypes did was it stymied someone like Elliot Ramos. But I will play the other side of the fence, and I'll go along with this. Having those veterans there, look, maybe in a undesired way, it pushed someone like Elliot Ramos to where you didn't just get free playing time and have an opportunity to succeed or fail. I mean, he really truly had to earn and keep his spot. And I look at what he's done since getting called up, whatever, May 8th, May 10th or something like that. He's been one of the best players in baseball.
Yep.
And you got close to 50 RBIs in basically 2.5 months. You have a guy who's batting 300, and it's not a fluky 300. I mean, he can pull the ball. He can hit into the gaps. He can go the other way. He's got a little power. I think defensively, he's much better in center field than I even gave him credit for. He's been amazing. So if there's one thing that I look at, like the veteran prototypes, like in Austin Slater, what they did in an indirect way, it pushed someone like Elliot Ramos to reach heights that I didn't think he could reach. Heck, the GM, Farhan Zaidi, didn't even have room for this guy multiple years. He had to force his way onto the roster because of injuries, and then he basically said, I got my foot in the door, and I'm not going to let you take me back down. So as awesome as it is that he made the All-Star game, and I think it's a great testament to him as a player and all that, I think we should be giving even more credit to Elliot Ramos for making the most of his opportunities when this roster was set up to not have room for him.
You have to go all the way back to 1971. Find the last time the Giants had a homegrown ace and outfielder make the All-Star team in the same season. That year, it was Juan Marichal, who was joined by Willie Mays, Bobby Bonds, and Willie McCovey.
Was that Willie's last year with the Giants, too?
Maybe it was last year with the Giants, 1971. Wow. Yep. So Juan Marichal, Willie Mays, Bobby Bonds, Willie McCovey. This is the first time the Giants had an ace, homegrown ace and outfielder make the All-Star game in the same season, 1971. So when you talk about Ramos, when I watch him play, and I'm watching him in the batter's box, and over since he's been up, last couple months, it feels like he just doesn't have bad at-bats. Even when you record outs, it feels like it's a quality at-bat. When he strikes out, he gets his money worth. You know, when he's striking out, it's rare that he's striking out on 3 pitches. Usually he's going deep in the count. Count always seems to be 2-2, 3-2, 2-2, 3-2, 2-2, 3-2. He doesn't look overwhelmed at the plate. And so now when you see him sliding in that 3 spot, and, you know, ideally I want him in a 2-hole, but you know what? He's your hottest hitter right now. And he's in the league leader since he's been called up for the most RBIs in baseball. I think it's the 4th most with like 41 or whatnot. So, he's just playing really well, and it's a good story. It's a really good story. Does he have staying power? Let's see. You can make the All-Star game and flow out, but this is good for him and his confidence. And finally, we see an outfielder. We're hoping that we found an outfielder who can pop for the Giants. Can he be around for a while? Can he continue this hot streak once the All-Star break is over and carry this lineup and get on base over and over, whether it's hitting gap to gap, hitting for power, running with speed, whatever you got to do. What a story for Elliot Ramos. We finally saw a youngster who, as we were talking about Luciano and Casey Schmidt and all these other youngsters, it's Ramos who has popped first for the Giants as we look to see this young core move into the future. Whether it's Matos and Luciano who follows along, this is a hell of a story with Ramos going to the All-Star game.
It's a great point. And the thing that I keep coming back to is, and I'm a big guy, like tools guy, right? I like, what do you hang your hat on? Whether it's basketball, baseball, football, you know, like what are you really, really good? What's your defining skill set, right? And like let's say Brock Purdy, brain, right? Like that, if I were to say, what does he hang his hat on? His brain, right? For example, if I was going to go to basketball, like what does Klay Thompson hang his hat on? Shooting, right? Like that was his defining mark. He had a lot of things that he did really well, but primarily shooting. I look at Ramos and I'm like, I don't know if he has a clear defining trait. He's just a really well-rounded, good player. And I'm going to throw a name at you. And look, I don't think he's as talented as this player because I thought this guy was just more explosive in a variety of ways. But in many ways, does he kind of give you poor man Raul Mondesi vibes? Where he's kind of short.
I honestly thought you were going to say Melky Cabrera.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to go Milkman.
You know what?
I thought you were going to go Milkman.
Okay.
Because Mondesi, when I see Mondesi,
I mean, he was
like super. He was chiseled out of his mind.
He was explosive. He was like cannon arm.
Yeah, he could have gone 40-40 if he wanted to.
But in the way that like Ramos, I agree with that. Yeah. Ramos moves better than I thought.
Yeah,
he does. Like I didn't think he could play center field. He moves better than I thought. I meant more the approach at the plate. Like he will go the other way, and that was a Mondesi trait. I will rip it the other way. I just think he's got really strong forearms.
I just look at Giants, and he kind of looks like Melky to me in that Giant uniform. And the way Milkman used all the field, and went gap to gap, had a little power. I don't know, but whatever he's doing, whatever he looks like, whether it's Mondesi or Melky or whoever the hell it is, he's going to the freaking All-Star game in Texas.
It's incredible.
All right? So Ramos and Logan Webb, I got to say, his big boy start. That's a big game pitcher, man. How many times do we need to see Logan Webb in a big game? And I know he's had his struggles, you know, against the Yankees and against big teams at times, but we saw it in the playoffs in 2021. We saw it against Cleveland Friday night when you're desperate for a guy, or Saturday, desperate for a guy to go 6 to 7 innings, and he does that for you all the time.